Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And in today's episode, we're joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goaltender Adam Carlson. Adam is currently playing the East Coast Hockey League with the Rapid City Rush in his 5th pro season. Adam has had an incredible path to getting to where he's at right now, where he started off playing the NA3HL before going to the Minnesota Junior Hockey League, where he then got a shot in the North American Hockey League with the Cooley Region Chill. He then committed to Mercyhurst University, where he got noticed right away by NHL teams after playing one game. So that's a crazy stat right there. And then after that, he entered his first season of pro hockey in the ECHL with the South Carolina Stingrays and the Hershey Bears in the AHL. He was also cut numerous times by teams and faced adversity, most notably, from what I read, was with his JV and varsity hockey teams, where he did not make the team in high school, but then kept working and eventually cracked his way into the pro game. So that's an incredible journey. So I'm really excited to have you on, Adam. So welcome to the show, Adam Carlson.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So how have you been? Like you're currently on a road trip right now, and you have a ton of games recently. So like, how's everything going there?
It's going good. It's been a little bit of a crazy ride the last what's it been? 3-4 days, last 48 hours, last 5 hours. Honestly, it's been a little bit crazy. We just had a little bit of a mishap on the way here. Nothing to do with our team or anything, but it's just one of those crazy experiences that you have on the road, and just living the dream and enjoying every second of it.
Just another day in the coast with breakdowns and everything. Just another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like, to start things off, can you like give our viewers a little background information on yourself? Like, you've had an incredible route so far to pro hockey. So like, when you first started playing hockey, what made you become a goaltender? And like, what was youth hockey like for you in Edina, Minnesota?
Well, honestly, I just picked goalie because of the love of the position, just being a psychopath, I guess. I mean, I've been obsessed with the gear. I've been obsessed with customizing gear my entire life. Goalies having their own helmets on the ice, like just being different from everybody else. And just, enjoying the battle that is keeping the puck out of the net. So youth hockey for me, I mean, my entire life, it was nothing but fun and games. And like, honestly, I still kind of treat it like that, but I have a little bit more of a professional's mentality towards it. But in youth hockey, it was just, honestly, it was enjoying the game day in and day out. It wasn't it wasn't like, oh my God, I need to make it to the NHL. It was enjoying time with my friends and enjoying playing the game. And, you know, the passion for that is what drove me to go play in the NA3. And then good things happened after that because I took my own path. And I think that's what everybody in the United States, Canada, Europe, wherever, anybody who's playing the game needs to understand is that there's not the Sidney Crosby path. Nobody's going to be on that path.
Yeah.
There's going to be one in every generation that does that. You have the Sidney Crosby, you have the Patty Kane, and then you have the Connor McDavid. Like there's one in every generation. That's it. Everybody else creates their own path and it's their own battle on the way there. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be given an opportunity in professional hockey because I enjoyed the game and just stuck with it. And so youth hockey was just fun and games, as it should be for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because as a kid, like you're playing the best sport in the world. You're still playing the best sport in the world. So you just got to have fun with it and just try to make memories with it along the way. Stories like the fucking travel stories that you've been having recently, just playing the game you love, like just creating memories all along the road. And just it's incredible what the game of hockey can bring you.
Oh, 110%. I mean, like, and the more you play, the smaller this world gets and the better it gets. So can't complain about it one bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy because I've played hockey since I was like probably 3, and like you still love the game and just you enjoy going to the rink, you enjoy playing the game, and just you enjoy everything that goes on. Once you get up in the hockey world, like you said, everything just gets smaller and smaller, and you start to know everyone, and it's just one big happy family, I guess you could say.
100%. You said it best.
So I want to get into like that adversity you faced a little bit here because I was doing some research on you, and you grew up in Edina, Minnesota, like we said earlier, and It's a high school hockey hotbed, and you were actually cut from the high school team your sophomore year, and then you were one of the last cuts of your senior years. Like, how hard was the high school years of hockey for you, especially when you thought about quitting the sport? Like I read that you said that, and then just fucking like facing the adversity and just coming out of it.
I mean, it sucked. I mean, nobody enjoys being cut, but at the same time, like you kind of grow up from it. Like you come to reality. Like life just smacks you in the face, and it's just like, yo, like at the end of the day, you're not good enough. And if you can take that and work through it and try to get better day in and day out, good things are going to happen. And I hate to sound cocky in any way, shape, or form, but like I like to think I'm living proof of that. And if you can just sit there and then surround yourself with people that care about you, want you to get better, and will go at the end to the ends of the earth for you to get better. And as long as you're willing to do that, the same thing that somebody's willing to teach you, like good things are going to happen. And that's basically what happened with me. Like my goalie coach that I work with back home, his name is Ryan S. He runs a goalie school called Devonshire Goaltenders. I've worked with him I'm at 10 years now working with that guy, which is crazy to say. And I mean, all the adversity that I've gone through, he's been with me through every step of the way, and we've worked through it. He's challenged me. I've challenged him. And like, it's been nothing but a great team and network that I've had back at home that's allowed me to do this. And like, don't get me wrong, like my mom and dad were huge support systems for me. Like, and on top of that, like I got friends and family, and I'm born and raised in Edina, Minnesota, and it's just, that's a hockey hotbed, if you've ever heard of it. And it's if you can't put yourself in a position to succeed there, meaning your work ethic and putting in the time there, it's on you as a human. And you know, if you're not willing to do those things, little things like show up for a 6 a.m. practice, I mean, you're not going to get those opportunities. You're not going to be successful. So I've been lucky enough to force myself into some of those opportunities and be gifted some of the opportunities to make this game a career, and I've been nothing but blessed for it, and it's all because I've surrounded myself with good people and a solid support system.
Yeah, I love that, and just everything that you said there. Besides like the adversity, but you have to go through adversity to come up top, and like you said earlier, and just be the guy that like goes through everything, then comes up on top. So did all that like motivate you to keep getting better, like waking up at like 6 a.m. for those 6 a.m. skates and just pushing yourself day in and day out, and just even though you were cut in high school and just the people said you weren't good enough, was that just like enough motivation to just help yourself prove to people that you can play, and that prove to them that they're wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I played with definitely a chip on my shoulder after high school, but ever since then, it's just been having faith in myself and everything that I've done to work towards that goal. And I mean, that goal initially was to play Division III hockey, and then it miraculously turned into the NA3, turned into the NA, which turned into Division I, which randomly turned into an NHL contract, which turns into pro. And it was just, like I said, I surrounded myself with good people, and it just ended up working out the way that it did. And like, it's not something I can really explain. You know what I mean? It's just, the stars aligned correctly. I fought my own battle, just as everyone should, and it worked out. And I'm not in the NHL, but I'm doing what I love for a living, and I can't complain one bit about it.
Yeah, exactly. You're playing the game you love, and just you're enjoying the ride despite all the like travel stories, horror stories that you probably have, and just everything that goes through with pro hockey, but you're enjoying it. So that's all that really matters there.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, honestly, like, everyone from the outside looking in like calls it horror stories, but I mean, like, those horror stories end up being the best memories ever.
Yeah,
Like,
that is
your
true.
bus breaking down and you having to cancel a game, or your bus breaking down in the middle of the road, or you got 17 flights canceled, and next thing you know, you're stuck in a blizzard in the middle of Denver, and you got to go back to Dallas, just to get back home to Rapid City, all due to weather. Nothing that the team can do about it. It's just like, you're stuck in an airport for 15 hours. You got to find a way to entertain yourselves. And like, those are the stories that you bring back. Like, and those are things that you don't get to experience in your average 9 to 5 job, because you're driving 15 miles a day or whatever to go to a 9 to 5 job and sit at a desk. Like, I mean, you don't get to experience those things in anything else. And in hockey, and especially in pro, you're doing it with, 15 to 35 guys in a given year that are your brothers, and it's a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that, it creates the best memories, like you said. And those are the stories that you look back on, and you just throughout your career, like you just pick those moments, and you're like, sure, playing the game's fun, but like all the memories you make outside the game, outside the ice surface, like those are the best memories right there.
Oh, 110%, man.
Yeah. So then during your senior year, you joined Edina's junior Gold A team, where
Yep.
you led them to a state championship. So like, what was it like facing all that adversity with getting cut, and then finding this team and going on a state championship run where you won the state championship?
Well, I do have to say, my best friend, and he's still my best friend to this day, his name is Tori Dahlbeck. Him and I were a goalie duo, and at the time, he was a way better goaltender than I was. And he ended up technically winning the state championship. I won the semifinal game. He won the state championship. But like, going through that, I mean, born and raised in Edina, Minnesota, I mean, there's so much hockey, and there's so many people that are constantly involved in hockey, that like junior gold A, like, it's not a bad program. Not at all. Like, we can go play. Our junior gold A team could have gone and played, and anyone can attest to this. I don't care. I'll line every single guy up on that team and face any other varsity team in the country, and it'll be a game. It'll be a game. You like, we could have taken on 95% of the varsity teams in Minnesota that year and probably won. And the upper 5%, probably not. But like it's still pretty dang good hockey. So like I don't want to knock on junior gold A at all, but like it's not the best league to be in, but at the same time, like you can still go and create a career out of it. I had there was 3 buddies that on my team that year, our senior year, that went and played junior hockey and then ended up going and playing Division III or Division I club out of junior gold A. So I mean, it's still pretty dang good hockey, and like it still has a decent amount of respect in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially because like you don't usually hear of guys doing that, and then all these guys are going to D3 and D1 programs and just living it out, and just like everyone that came out of that like is a good hockey player and good, and like makes a good D1 or D3 program.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so then after you win the state champion, or you guys win the state championship, you won the semifinal game, and then you go on to find yourself in the NA3 in a Tier 3 junior division in North Iowa for the North Iowa Bulls, where you started out as a third string goalie there and made one appearance. So, like, obviously, it's not an ideal situation to be a third string, but like, how do you take that role and being a third string and just working your way up, like working in practice, taking the reps when you can, and just helping yourself to get better and get those opportunities to go eventually to the null?
Well, honestly, I didn't take it that well. I was a third string goalie there, and we had, I think, 3 or 4 preseason games against NA teams. So obviously the tier above. And I had a shutout in every period that I played in those games. And then they started the goalie and they were playing him for the first 3 games of the year in the NA3 with North Iowa because he had won them a national championship the year before, which at the end of the day, I get.
Yeah.
But it was just like this young guy is coming in, like killing it. I didn't even get a sniff. And the sniff that I did get, I think I gave up 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, and like all 3 of them were on either 2-on-0s or 3-on-0s. And then I got yanked.
Not the best situation.
No, not a good situation at all. And then my coach pulled me, and I was just like, are you kidding me? And my parents were paying, I don't know how many thousands of dollars for me to play in that league. And I just took it as like a total slap in the face, which it was. And I get that they wanted to win a national championship, but at the same time, it was just like, well, we're in the NE3, like we're in the junior gold A of junior hockey. Like, why do I need to put up with this?
Yeah.
And so the next day I called my coach and I was like, hey, like, I'd like to meet for coffee. And he was like, all right, what do you want? I was like, oh, I'm not happy here. Like, this isn't a good fit for me. Like, this is not how this works.
Yeah.
And then he ended up trading me to the Steele County Blades, which was in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League, which now doesn't exist, which kind of folded into the North American Tier 3 division, or USPHL. Half the teams went one way, half the teams went the other way. And then I went on a tear that year and ended up making the NA the next year. And so I just kind of stood up for myself to one coach, and he respected it. And I ended up in a good situation for myself. I don't want to say I created it for myself, but I basically called out a coach who had respect for the game and how the league worked and put me in a position to succeed. And things worked out. So I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, I wasn't happy in that situation, but things worked out the way they did, and it was for the better.
Yeah, for sure. And so like, was it hard to stick up to that coach, or were you just fed up with everything and you're like, screw it, like I need to ask for a trade?
Oh, it was the hardest thing ever. Like, it was not an easy decision. And I mean, like, still now, like if I wanted to ask for a trade, it wouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaving a group of guys, you're leaving a family, you're leaving, in that case, a billet family. So you're leaving an actual family, and they're sitting there wondering, why are you leaving? Like, what's going on? They take it personal. And it's just like, you got to, at the end of the day in this game, you got to fight for you, and yeah, you want to win games and you want to win a championship with the team. But at the end of the day, your personal success, especially when you're paying for it, is what matters. And if you're not able to succeed in a given situation, you got to be able to change it. And if you can't change it and the coach is like, no, you're stuck here, well, guess what? Live with it and work through it. So, and I've been there plenty of times in my career, and I'm sure everyone else has. So,
Yeah, for sure. So then you get that opportunity with the Steele County Blades where you went off. You played in 34 games with 3.14 goals against average, 914 save percentage. So you used that opportunity well, and you went on a tear. Then you went on to the Null after that. So like, how did you use that opportunity to help yourself develop, since you're finally getting the time and getting a shot with a team that actually wanted you to play?
I just enjoyed it. I had fun. I worked my ass off, and I was able to bring my own personal goalie coach down there, my buddy Ryan S. that I mentioned earlier, and I was able to play my game, and it ended up working out. My assistant coach, when I was in the Null, was an assistant coach in the against one of the teams that I played, which is the Twin Cities Northern Lights. He was the assistant coach for that team, and he ended up being the assistant coach for the team that I ended up making in the NA. And that was my end for that camp. And it was the last camp that I ended up going to, and I ended up making that team. And he was the only reason why I was there, was because he had seen me play the year before. So it's all about networking,
Yeah, talk about opportunities and networking. Like that was your in, and you got in and you succeeded. You played out of your mind that year, and like you're able to work your way up to the next level as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. And then especially since you use that opportunity to like get better, even better, and like you're actually playing games. So you were out there just dominating, and then you get your chance at the next level in the North American League the next year. It's like, what was that year in the Null like, and just being able to get that next opportunity, like you said, and just play at the second best junior league in the United States?
It was a pretty cool opportunity, one that I thought I was never going to get, and then somehow managed to fight for the starting role. And it was basically a tit for tat for me and the returning starter the rest of the year. And they ended up giving me, to finish off the year, the starting spot to basically clinch a playoff spot. I ended up losing that game. But they had me back the next year, and we ended up making playoffs. So it was great, but it was just, it was a crazy experience, and it was one that I wasn't going to let pass up. I was enjoying every moment, working my ass off, like I said the year before, and yeah, enjoying it and enjoying the people I was surrounded by. And I had a great family. Most of the guys that I played with were from Minnesota or Chicago or Wisconsin. And it was just like, I could still call each one of those guys at any given moment right now and say, hey, I'm coming to town. Let me crash on the couch. Or half the guys have a spare bedroom nowadays because we're almost 30 years old, and I'll be able to pass out in one of their beds. So, just developing great relationships and enjoying the time and the opportunity that I had allowed me to be successful.
Exactly. And if you're not having fun, what are you doing? Just
exactly. Quit your job.
Yeah, exactly. And just like even now, like I've find like myself getting more opportunities and getting a lot better and like having more fun when you're just enjoying the game and embracing those moments where like some things might not be going right, but like you're enjoying the game, and like that changes the momentum of everything, especially like even if you give up a goal, like, and your team's still playing for you, and you're enjoying the game, enjoy making stops, like it's going to make the game so much easier, whether you win or lose. Obviously you want to win, but it makes it a lot better when you're just having fun.
110%.
Yeah. So like during those times in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League and the Null, like what are some of the biggest things that you've learned throughout those years that you were there, and especially with when you started to play more games?
Just basically everything that I've been saying is just enjoying it and working hard and developing great relationships and networking. Those are by far the best things I could say about that.
Yeah, I love that. So like going from like the Minnesota Junior Hockey League to the NAL, like what was the biggest adjustment that you had to make, and like how do you adjust to the pace of the game? Because I'm guessing that they're pretty different in terms of pace of the game.
Oof, that was a while ago now. We're going on almost 10 years. It was just the will to win, honestly, from the NA3 to the NA was probably the biggest one. And like the will to commit Division I, I think was the biggest one. And then, your off ice tactics. I mean, day in and day out, like good habits constantly and focusing on them. Whereas in the NA3, it was just like, we're enjoying our time. We're going to have some fun. We'll have some beers and, we'll have some good laughs here and there. At the end of the day, we're all going to go Division III if we're lucky. And you get to the NA and it's like, well, we're all going to make D3. And the guys that really work their ass off end up making Division I. And so you can see that in the room. When you walk into an NA locker room, you can tell by a guy's work ethic what they're going to do. And I mean, there was a guy that I played with who's actually making a decent career a solid career in pro hockey, Darren Omenko. He played for the Minnesota Wilderness, and I mean, like he was a pro himself in juniors. I mean, he was a thick kid, and he worked hard, and he battled in front of the net every single night, and he was a tough bastard to play against night in and night out. And you knew when you were playing against him that he was going Division I. Whereas when you were in the NA3, it was like, all right, like how badly does this guy want to win this battle? Yeah, he doesn't care. You want to know why? Because he's talking to 3 girls that he wants to meet up with after the game. Who knows if any of them are going to fall through? Like, that's all he's worried about. Whereas in the NA, there's a goal to everybody's game. And so I think that was the biggest difference. Yeah, there's speed and all that kind of stuff, but if you're an athlete, you're able to catch up with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just the mindset at the end of the day that separates the NA3 from the NA. And the NA to the USHL, I mean, honestly, there's not much difference other than age and opportunity that you were given at a young age that puts you in the USHL. You go from the USHL to the NA, there's some guys that struggle big time because the NA, like, it's a rough game. It's a man's game. And, so there's a lot of different worlds out there in junior hockey.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. So I really like how you said like the routines and everything, like getting like making sure you have good routines and like good habits. So like now that you're a pro and like you went through like the NAL and the NA3, like what is it about like good habits that set you apart from everyone else, especially like going up in levels, like at the pro level? Like obviously like it's all like it's the best of the best there. It's like, what have you learned about routines and just keeping up with the good habits and trying to break the bad habits that you have?
I think routines and good habits, it's those are 2 different things. A routine just kind of gets you like a good flow into that day of creating good habits. I know plenty of guys who don't have any habits at all, whether that's a goaltender or a player, and they show up on the ice and they create good habits. I think the biggest thing that separates goaltenders, especially, and players is having good habits constantly on the ice when they're doing a given drill, like shooting in stride, falling into the save the correct way. Sorry, I should say dropping into the save the correct way, having your hands out in front of you when you make a good save as a shooter, stick handle, shot. not stick handle, glide shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas a routine is things that lead into a practice, right? Where at the end of the day, myself, I used to have crazy routines in juniors. And the older I get and the more I play, those routines kind of go out the window because you get an injury here, you get an injury there, and it's just like, all right, I got to warm up this part of my body first, and then I got to do this, I got to do that. And your routine ends up getting screwed up. You know what I mean? So you can't have a good routine to bring good habits, if that makes sense. You gotta create those good habits on the ice. And don't forget, like, you gotta have those good habits in the gym. And good habits in the gym doesn't mean, okay, every day I'm gonna promise that I'm gonna do, let's call it 100 squats. Okay, you can go and do 100 squats. Are you gonna do 100 good squats? That's a good habit. I'd rather take a guy who does 50 perfect squats, because that's good habits,
Yeah.
over a guy who does 500 squats.
But does it shit?
Exactly. So routines, yes, they're a good thing for young kids to prepare for a game. But once you get older, it's the good habits that are on the ice and in the gym that are going to separate you from this level to the next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like when you're at practice, do you just focus on like some of those habits? Like just do you just tell yourself like mentally, like just keep your hands in front of you and then just go into this safe selection that you want and drop nicely?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, like, and there's times where it's just like, man, you're on a hot streak. Do what you've been doing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just go with it, ride it out. And then, all right, well, this is happening, and you've been scored on twice in the last 2 weeks in this position, and you're losing games because of it. All right, let's get on top of that. Here we go. And the more you break down NHL goaltenders, you realize that, and players, you realize that every single one of them is different. Not one of them plays the puck the same way. Not one of them dekes the same way. Yeah, one guy's going to have a sick toe pull doing this. That Bobrovsky's going to have an unbelievable VH, and Vasilevsky is going to have an unbelievable reverse VH because he's huge. So it's finding what works for you as an individual and working with it and just going with it. And in our case, it's keeping the puck out of the net. So whatever is working for you, if it's working, go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's personal preference for everyone as well. Like every single person's different, like you said, and it's a lot of it's just personal preference, like whatever you think you should do that day, or how you should play something, how you should go down into the save selection. Like it just depends on the player.
Yeah, exactly.
So then after you play in the NAHL and you get an opportunity to go into in a Division I college, so you choose Mercyhurst University. So like what went into choosing Mercyhurst University to be the school that you're going to attend for 4 years, but it ends up being 1 year, and just living it out and just being comfortable with where you're at?
When it came to that, for me, I was lucky enough to have more than a handful of schools talking to me at that point. And I was talking to University of Minnesota, University of North Dakota, Boston University, Union reached out to me. They had just won a national championship. Providence just reached out to me. They had won the national championship the year before, the year after. I can't remember, because it was 10 years ago now. But I chose the place that wanted me most and gave me the most opportunity. And that ended up being the best thing for me, because at the end of the day, they were going to work their ass off to give me the opportunity that they thought I'd earned. And when you're going to a big school and it's like, yeah, you're coming out of the NA, you had these stats in high school, you're not drafted, you'll get your opportunity later down the road if you work hard enough. Whereas Mercyhurst, they were giving me that opportunity my freshman year. And my mom and dad both laughed when I said I wanted to go to Mercyhurst after I visited there. And I was like, look, this feels like home. This is where I need to be, and it ended up working out.
Yeah, that's all you need is a place where it feels like home, and that's where it seems like you're the most successful is when you're feeling at home.
100%.
So then you go into play 17 games where you actually got like NHL scouts were paying attention to you after you played one game, I read. So like, what was that feeling like having NHL scouts watching you and everything? And especially after playing one game, like you don't really hear NHL scouts looking at you after one game. So like, what was that like?
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it one bit. I had to look up. Will Nickel was the guy who scouted me for Washington. Will Nickel was the guy who saw me, and then he was the only guy scouting me. Nobody else in the NHL had seen me, and then he had the support from Scott Murray, who actually saw a YouTube video of me. Scott Murray was the assistant coach of the Capitals, who is now the head goalie coach of the Capitals because Mitch Korn ended up going, who was the head coach at the time, head goalie coach at the time. He's now with the Islanders because he travels with Barry Trotz typically. And he had seen me in my videos from the NA off a video my little brother had posted from a GoPro in the NA. And so it's just kind of crazy how those things worked out. And so I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that Washington was inviting me to a development camp after my first game I ever played in college. I was like, yeah, bullshit. Like Master DaCosta, Kyle Cook, our captains at the time. I was like, yeah, whatever. You guys are pulling a prank on me. It wasn't until I looked him up on Google after that I was like, oh my God, this is one of the head scouts for the Capitals. So it didn't sink in for me right away. And then it was kind of one of those things that was an afterthought. I didn't even think about it. And I think that's the best way to go about it is just do what you got to do. Stop the puck, get the puck out of the net, work your ass off away from the ice, and good things are going to happen. So I didn't truly believe that I was getting scouted that hard. And then I got told around Christmas time, like, hey, you should probably get yourself an agent or a family advisor. And then I was like, all right, well, this is getting kind of serious. And then I didn't think anything of it because my agent was like, don't expect anything. I was like, all right, fine, I'm not going to, so I won't. And then sure as shit, they're at our first playoff game of the season, and there's Will Nickel and Mitch Korn sitting in the stands, the head scout for the Washington Capitals and the head goalie coach for the Washington Capitals. It's like, wow, this is insane. And then luckily my parents were in town and they took me and my parents out to dinner, which crazy NCAA rule, they're not allowed to pay for my dinner because of NCAA violations. Yeah. So luckily my parents were there and I could pay for this meal at Texas Roadhouse because I couldn't afford the college. And Mitch Korn and I sat at one end of the table. Will Nickel and my parents sat at the other end of the table. And Korn and I talked about Dominic Hasek, Braden Holtby, and Hasek, the Dominator, was my idol growing up, like by far. And Korn was his coach when he won, 2-3 Vezinas with the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, something like that. Something crazy.
And then ends up winning a cup with Detroit, like all this crazy stuff. So like I was just picking Korn's brain. I didn't even think about, signing a contract. And then I get in the car with my parents after, and my mom is crying. And I'm like, what the hell are you crying about? Like, that was the coolest thing ever. Like, we just went out to dinner with these people. Like, what's going on? And my mom looks at me and she's like, do you understand the position you're in? I was like, yeah, I'm playing D1 college hockey. Let's go. Girls love me. And that's why we play the game, for the girls.
Exactly.
And she's like, what Will Nickel just told me that if everything goes right, you might be in Hershey on an NHL contract with Washington next week,
Wow.
given the situation. And right there is when it hit me. And I was just like, holy crap. this is real life. Like, this might be a thing. Now I got to start weighing my options. So yeah, it was a pretty crazy, not a body experience.
Yeah, that's unheard of. You never hear a story like that, and then just like how quickly that happened, and like they said that the next week could possibly be with Hershey,
Yeah.
which you then ended up going to Hershey for a little bit, where you also went to South Carolina that same year after your season. So like, what was that like, and just actually like having it, like the realization that you're going to Hershey or going to South Carolina when you were going to those places?
I mean, it was a blur, if I'm being honest. Like, it was supposed to be, it was my ATO year, so amateur tryout. So I didn't burn a year for my NHL contract, which was nice. But I was in such shock the entire time that I did, like, honestly, I didn't learn much from it. I committed my 20-year-old year of juniors, and by the time I was 21 and a half years old, I was in the American Hockey League. And it was just like a whirlwind. I didn't know how to react to it. I was just kind of there. If that makes any sense. I didn't learn much from it. It was just like, this is all happening so fast that it was crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, you probably were having the time of your life when you're up there, and just you're like, oh, like I just finished my freshman year and I'm already at the AHL, like, and then
Yeah.
and like everything that transpired with that, and just getting those contracts, like that must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So then the next year you go on to your first official pro season, where you started the season with South Carolina Stingrays of the ECHL. So like, what was your first taste of pro like, and just and your welcome to the pros moment?
Oh boy. Um oh man. Um Man, first taste of the pros. Oh, well, actually, one of my first games that I played I think it was my third or fourth game, was against the Florida Everblades down on the coast. This was my first year of my contract with Washington. I was down with Charleston, South Carolina Stingrays. And when you play teams like Florida, they get a lot of really good guys at the end of their career. And they had a really good team. They were a huge team. They were a strong team. I'd never played men before, if that makes sense. Like, it's a man's game once you get to pro. And I had this guy run me twice in a row, and I was like, what's this guy's deal? Like, why is this guy doing it? Well, he was fighting for a job. And it was the first time I realized in a game, like, wow, this guy is doing this not because he wants to, but he has to in order to earn his paycheck to, pay his car payment at the end of the month, or
Yeah.
to stay in this city because he loves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he ran me again a third time that game, and I actually have an Instagram post about it. And this guy's knee is straight into my temple.
Oh.
And I ended up doing a flip, and we ended up winning the game 2-1. And it was like the first time that I had a true taste of pro hockey, where it was like, wow, like this guy is going to run me through the wall because it's his job and nothing else. And he's probably the best guy in the world off the ice, which is the case in 99% of the cases in pro hockey. The only reason why that guy's a dick on the ice, because that's his role. That's what he's got to do. That's what he needs to do in order to get a paycheck. Or, in some cases, it's like you put food in his daughter's mouth, So there's plenty of cases like that. And it's just like, if you're going to get in the way of that, sit down, buddy, or be ready to chuck them.
Yeah, like that's all it is at that level. It's just guys working for their job. Like they gotta they want to stay there. They gotta make a living. Like they gotta do whatever they can to stay, because they could easily just get cut and just leave. Like they gotta work for their payment.
Yeah, exactly.
So then over the next couple of years, you were traveling around a little bit. You were in Hershey for a little bit. You went back to South Carolina. You went to Indy. You went to Kansas City. And then you find yourself in Rapid City, Milwaukee, Manitoba, and then Jacksonville, and then again in Rapid City. So like how crazy has the past few seasons been for you, and just being able to enjoy the game, like you said, and just see a ton of different places?
There's been many ups and downs, to say the least, but at the end of the day, it's just like, if you show up to the rink and you have, the way I take it, because I paid for my own gear somewhat. My parents helped me out as much as they could, and I'd pay as much as I could. I still look at it to this day. I've had free gear ever since I went to Mercyhurst. The way I take it, if I'm walking into a rink and I have free gear, my skates sharpened, and I'm getting a paycheck to play there. Oh, and by the way, there's somebody there to stretch me out if I need to be stretched out in a given position. You've got it pretty fucking good, pardon my French. And so I've taken it like that. I've enjoyed every single moment and every single place. Like, a lot of people bash Rapid City, and they're like, oh, it's Rapid City, South Dakota. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I love playing here. We get a golf for free at 2 courses.
Not bad.
We get to play hockey. We get paid to play hockey. We fly everywhere. They treat us like gold. And then on top of that, there's world-class pheasant hunting 2.5 hours east of us. And then right in the middle of half of the golf courses in town is world-class trout fishing, rainbow trout and brown trout.
You had everything right there.
What more do you want?
Exactly. There's not that much else you want.
Like there's not much else that you want. So like, when you're from the outside looking in at that situation, we've got it made. And if you can't see that, and if you can't enjoy every single day, get up and get out of town. And that's how I look at it. So every single time I'm sent down, I'm called up, I enjoy each opportunity to the fullest, whether that's, just hanging out with guys. Like my ATO year, when I first signed with Washington and I was sent to Hershey out of school, the 2 goaltenders that were there were Dan Ellis and Justin Peters, both guys who have established NHL careers.
Both legends.
Yeah. And it's just like, holy shit. And like last year, I was on a 2-way AHL deal with the Manitoba Moose. They invited me to Winnipeg Jets camp. We had Laurent Brossoit and Connor Hellebuck. I enjoyed every second of that. And guess what? I don't want to say I was pleasant to be around, but I was a good enough guy to get invited to go play around the golf with Connor Hellebuck, Morrissey, and Eric Comrie, the assistant captain of the Winnipeg Jets, the starting goaltender who wins the Vezina that year, and Eric Comrie, who
was a legendary AHL starter.
Legendary AHL starter who's on the cusp of breaking into the NHL year after year. I shot the best round of golf I've ever played in my life golfing with those guys. Like, if you're worried about every single thing that you do in that situation, you're not going to get those opportunities to have those cool moments with guys like that. I shot an 80 that day Connor Hellebuck shot a 77. Marissy and Comrie ended up tying us in match play. Comrie sank like a 28-foot putt plus to tie us on the 18th hole, and we had $100 on the round.
Oh,
so I would have won $100, and Bucky and I were on the same team together. And I remember like counting my scorecard after and just being like, and Bucky and I were on the same team. We were walking together the whole round. And I just looked at him and laughed on the 18th green. And I was like, man, you don't understand. This is the best round of golf I've ever played. Like not like coolest experience, which it probably was, but it was legitimately the best round of golf I'd ever played at the time. And I look at Bucky and I'm just like, sign this right now. And I knew I was getting cut the next day from the NHL squad. I was on an AHL two-way deal. But if you're not enjoying that moment, like, I'm not asking for Bucky to sign that. I'm not even invited in that situation. And so it's cool things like that, keep me coming.
yeah, that's unreal. I love your energy for the game and like how you love the game and you're just having fun. Like that's what it's all about. And you're just,
For sure.
and I know you got to get going soon here. So
Yeah.
my last question for you is like, do you have any tips for younger goaltenders looking to get to that next level?
Well, you said it yourself right there. Enjoy it. Bring energy every day. And like we were talking about earlier, don't focus too much on, the constant routine and being focused in on that. Good habits every day. Enjoy who you're with, network, and work your ass off and enjoy it. That's the best advice I can get you. And it's a cliche, I know, but like, it is what it is. If it wasn't a cliche, people wouldn't fucking say it.
That's very true.
It works. It works wonders. And every single guy on my team here in Rapid City would say the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's unreal. This has been so much fun, Adam. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to following your career the rest of the way. And we may have to do round 2 of the podcast soon.
For sure, man. Anytime. Just reach out to me. Appreciate your time, Jack.